Hello, everyone. I'm sitting with Mr. Rajiv Agarwal, the MD and CEO of Essar Ports. I'm sure many of you know that Essar Ports is one of the leading ports in India, part of the Essar Group with varied businesses. It's one of the largest Indian multinational conglomerates present in the steel space, shipping and logistics space, ports business, as well as the energy business. In fact, they have a refinery in the UK as well. I'm very excited today because this is one of my very first outings after the lockdown, and very grateful to do it with Mr. Agarwal, who's a very strong ally of the Port of Antwerp. So I have some questions for you today, Mr. Agarwal. One of my first questions is, how do you see the Indian economic recovery happening? And also, what are the growth drivers as far as the Indian manufacturing and export sectors are concerned?
Thank you, Malini, for giving me this opportunity. And it's always nice to interact with Port of Antwerp. I think in India, we have seen a good recovery already. I think in the last few months, we have seen the economy bouncing back. All the indicators in terms of tax collection, in terms of sale of consumer goods, and also traffic at our ports indicates that we are almost at the old levels, and in some cases we are doing better. So it is expected that in the coming year, in the fiscal 21-22, India may have a 10% growth or 11% growth over, of course, a decline in the previous year. So we might come back to the old levels, which were maybe 1 year back. So I think things are looking good. As far as the ports are concerned, the traffic is up and running and it's at full levels. We have achieved 100% of the previous levels, and not just us, but I hear that most of the other port players, especially in containers, which were doing a little less, have also bounced back. So we are mostly on the bulk side today. Bulks, liquids, I think both are doing pretty well. So the reasons are that consumption is back on stream. People are up and about. There's a lot of movement that is happening. So we have also had, the freeing of the lockdown in phases. So I would say that there's a fair amount of traffic on the roads. You can see restaurants have started opening, hotels have started opening, and people have started traveling for leisure as well as for work, though at a much lower scale, but still for essential travel is being undertaken. So I think in the next few months, with the vaccine coming in, I expect that things will become almost normal.
Nice to hear about those positive sentiments from your side. Another question I had in mind is, you are in a port authority as well as in the terminal operations business. Now, what are the key areas of focus for this year to make up for 2020?
So I think we have been looking at various initiatives, apart from the cost initiatives, where we are looking at how to keep our profitability same in spite of some reduction in the volumes. We are looking at growth. So we are investing money in getting into new businesses like containers and in LNG. We are looking at some green initiatives where we are looking in future and saying that, okay, how can we be carbon neutral over a period of time? Put up some solar or wind energy generation units where we can take care of all the port requirements. And we are also looking at a lot of, you can say, IT intervention, because what we have seen is that during this period, it was the IT intervention which saved all of us. That when people were working from home with a minimum amount of people, how we managed. So I think we want to continue with that, and we want to see that how we can reap the benefits of all of this to improve profitability and efficiency and turnaround times and everything. So that is what we are planning.
A lot of synergies there with the Port of Antwerp as well, the digitalization, your green energy story and sustainability. Very interesting. That brings me to my next question. Antwerp Port and SR Port have had a very friendly relationship in the past. We've had a JV together and we continue to be friends. How do you envision this friendship to transform into future mutually beneficial business opportunities for both of us?
I think as both of us are in the same business and we are in different geographies, the normal thing is that, trade between the two countries is always something which will bind us. And we would look at opportunities to see that if we can have some cargo originating from here, ending there, or the other way. Apart from that, we have also had interaction where we would like to exchange, best practices, see how to learn from each other, and how to improve, our operations with the knowledge which Port of Antwerp has. And if we have anything to offer, we definitely would also be more than welcome to do that, happy to do that. So I think that's what it is. And any initiatives which Port of Antwerp wants to do in India, we would always, be available to help them, whether it is on your initiatives on the training side or it is with any other initiatives that you may have. We are there. And I think we need to put more efforts to understand what we can do together. So maybe we should interact more and find out some synergies.
Very reassuring to know that we can count on you. And definitely, I think we need to have a deeper discussion on specific areas. At the cost of sounding repetitive, because this year, 2020 rather, we've had a very huge contribution by the container sector as far as Antwerp's growth is concerned. And we've had very positive figures there with the throughput. So we've grown by about 12 million TEUs, that's a record, and 1.3% growth rate. I think that leaves us with being the leading port in the Hamburg-Le Havre range as far as, our performance is concerned. What I wanted to really ask you is, you've had very similar challenges in India with supply-demand imbalance. You had equipment imbalance, you had inventory buildup, you had manpower shortage, and yet I read these very nice headlines of SR Ports numbers and a very positive performance. Now, you did mention about digitalization as one of the contributing factors. What were some of the other factors of your success story? I'd really like to know.
I think we were lucky that we had good customers. First of all, I must thank them because they also were up and running fast. And they were also mostly in essential services. So they had to operate. So they did not lock down. So they were operating and we had to work for them. So that really helped us to keep our numbers going. So of course there was some decline in the consumption. So for a few months we suffered, but thereafter, I think based on the market conditions and their efforts, we were able to come back very fast. Apart from that, of course, it was, managing employee safety, morale, practices on that front, and digitalization, of course. And I think overall, working with the environment, with the system to ensure that there are no blockages, no stoppages for people to come in, go out, and we had to work a lot with the families also because people are not very comfortable having, the families were not comfortable with their people going out to work because of the pandemic. So these were so many factors. And then I would say that above all, it's the spirit of our people, our employees, that, they were wanting to perform, and we had the flexibility of their working from anywhere, but at the same time, nothing suffered, as on the work front. So it was heartening, very, very heartening, I must say, that we did not really face any issues at all. And our people are all safe. We have not had any issues or casualties on account of the pandemic within the SR Ports family, in the sense that in the employees. And it's been, I would say it's a big learning. And these are trends which we see are not going to get reversed. So many of the practices are going to just, continue. So I think the world is changing, and we feel that we need to move along with that rather than think that, we can come back to our old ways of doing things.
I hope so. And I'm sure, this period, there'll be a lot of best practices for all of us to adopt. Now, one common commodity between both our ports is break bulk. And I'd really like to know, how do you see the future of break bulk? Do you see it as an upward trajectory, a growth trajectory, or what is your take on the future of break bulk?
I think definitely it is going to be on the upswing, because everything is not containerized. So whatever is not containerized and which is not bulk, which is very large, like we handle more of bulk than break bulk. So it is going to increase, and trade is going to increase. So obviously break bulk is also going to increase. So we don't have any doubts. And in India, we are finding a lot of coastal movement happening, because now the movement by sea route is being encouraged and is always cheaper. So that is really growing, as so basically it competes with, say, road and rail, and so that is something which is on the rise. So with inland waterways, with coastal movement, with the policy the government of having ports all across and in the rivers and waterways. So all of this is definitely on the increase, in my opinion.
Sounds very similar to our story, because there's increased emphasis on multimodal to reduce traffic from the road. My last question to you is on the subject of internationalization, because I'm very interested, and I noticed that especially in the Indian logistics, ports, shipping sectors, there are examples of very few companies who have looked international. Now, you had a terminal, I believe, in Mozambique. And I wanted to ask you, you also have a fund to invest in new strategic initiatives. Tell us a little bit about that, and also your internationalization plans. Would you ever consider a green or a brownfield investment in, say, Europe or any other geography in the ports and logistics business?
So we have an existing port operation or terminal operation in UK, in a place called Stanlow, where there is a refinery, and we manage the terminal, which is basically the jetties, the tankages, etc. And we are developing a port in Mozambique, which is a greenfield situation. And we are open to opportunities. We have not zeroed down on anything. We used to manage a port earlier in Canada, which we're not doing at the moment. So yeah, we are open, and we feel that there are so many opportunities in India that we tend to, put more focus here, and it is easier for us to deal with it also. So maybe, so that keeps us focused more in India. But otherwise, we're quite open to look at opportunities outside as they come. But they have to be backed by, some sticky cargo, which will make it more interesting. We, as a fund, basically, the way we are structured in SR today is that SR group, is like a fund. It's converted into a fund, and so basically, various businesses are performing based on those principles, with the expectation of the fund of return, and the way they look at in new investments is very much like that of a fund. So it's a mindset change. It's a It's a way of looking at things and investments in a more business-like or more fund-like manner, expecting the returns that they expect. So we are moving towards that more and more, and slowly the whole system needs to change. So that's what is happening.
Thank you. I think that will be really interesting for our viewers as well. So on that positive note, I'll let you get back to work. But thank you very much for your time, and it's always a pleasure catching up with you. Yeah, bye-bye.